Hello and welcome to Emergent Soul Conversations, the podcast promoting self-love and awareness with the hopes of developing sisterhood and community. We will be discussing concepts that pull on the hearts of today's woman. I'm your host, Karen Elaine, and I will share my life experiences along with inviting others to sit down with me who inspire me and also have a willingness to share their soul's journey. This podcast will give us meaningful and intimate conversations that'll help us create a life by design and not default. If this is your first time listening in, I thank you. Now on till today's episode. I've been having conversations with a lot of girlfriends who have children, or in my age group, they have young adults. And we came up collectively and we all agree that there is no such thing as a perfect parent. I mean, parenting in itself is challenging and frustrating, and it's very hard to know if you're doing the right thing or making the most wisest choices that are going to benefit your children. But what happens when your children are no longer children and they're young adults? What is your responsibility to them at that point in their lives? Are you responsible? Do you owe them anything? That was the conversation that we were having today. And sometimes, you know what? There's no good answer for many of the parenting situations that we find ourselves in. Parenting, as in life, there is no perfection because it's not possible. And the only thing that you can do is strive for excellence and do the best you can. I mean, let's face it. My kids are all young adults. And at times I struggled with how much did I need to do for them? How much do I have to do for them? Or even more importantly, was I coming at or approaching the situation from a feeling of guilt that they are my kids and I had to? I had to come to the realization that a lot of things that I felt that I had to do was disempowering for them and cheated them out of finding the skill sets of how to deal with certain situations on their own. I mean, let's face it, no one teaches us how to be a great parent. We learned a lot of things in school, but parenting skills, they don't cover it. Did you read the book, What to Expect While You're Expecting, or look at others, or did you make it up as you go along? I mean, that's what a lot of us do. Let's face it, being a great parent isn't easy. And the only thing that we can prove to ourselves is as looking at examples or even poor examples of parents that you know and utilizing that as a measuring point. Here are some tips. Learn from our own parents. I mean, whether your parents were spectacular, mediocre, or even terrible, there's always something that we can learn from them. Think about what your parents did really well, and even consider the things that you feel that your parents failed you. There's a lot of great information that we can use from our childhood. You know, have you ever considered talking to your kids and asking them for feedback? I mean, if your kids are adults like mine, and this new millennial situation, you know, millennial kids, they don't have an issue on telling it how they really feel and how they really see it. So ask your kids, what could you have done to be a better parent? I mean, some of the information, it might not be helpful, but there might be a few gold nuggets in there, as well as things that you might never considered. And only do this, I mean, and it's a point of where your kids are at this point. I still say kids, but mine are really young adults. You know, cover the basics. It doesn't mean they're easy to do, but ensure that your kids see these concepts in action. I mean, children and everyone else need to have a high level of self-esteem. Are the actions and steps you taking leading to having high self-esteem or one where they feel defeated? Be a good role model because our kids are always watching and they use us as an example of what to do, what not to do. until they figure it out on their own. School matters, although these days, I still feel education will allow you to move ahead in life, but encourage entrepreneurship. If your kids don't have the technical or don't love school, encourage that. Money does matter. So I'm not going to say that, tell them to just follow their heart and do what they want if it's not going to lead to something that is going to enable them to earn a living and take care of themselves on their own. I mean, if you encourage, and I think you should be encouraging, but if you encourage them in a skill set or a job or a career position that doesn't earn them money, how long do you want to keep them on your payroll? I know for me, that's something I want to do, get them off my payroll right away. Remember, you can do everything right and still have challenges. Kids aren't plants. There's no level of guaranteed success by just adding water and fertilizer. Every child is different. And every child, you want to be perfect, but it's not possible. And kids will still have struggles. Remember, teach them important things. Teach them the importance of saving money, how to make good friends, how to deal with negative emotions. This is a huge one. How often do you tell your sons not to share their emotions, or boys don't cry, and just suck it up and deal with it? How many men or kids or young adults today don't know how to deal with negative emotions because they were told, just put it away, it's not acceptable? Encourage them to develop values, things that are important, and to be honest. I encourage you to spend time with your children every day, because spending time in the things that matter, that's what matters most, especially during the pandemic when we're practicing social distancing, or should be, and your kids are in the home, or they might not be. How are you still communicating them? Are you picking up the phone, calling them? When you ignore your children, they know they don't matter. And is that the message that you want to encourage them and leave with them? Love your children unconditionally. Even when they make their mistakes, show your children you love them and you're going to be there for them even when they make mistakes. I mean, let's face it. No parent can be perfect. You're doomed to feel like a failure if perfection is your goal. Fortunately, kids are very resilient and they don't require perfect parenting. Keep doing your best and trying to improve. Be the best parent you can be, and your children will eventually thank you for it. Or they may not. But you know what? As long as you are moving forward and doing everything that's possible for you to do, loving them as they are, accepting them as they come, knowing and realizing that your children come through you and they're not yours, will allow you to step back and allow them to live their lives on their own journeys and you yours. It took me a long time to learn that. I did a lot of things for my kids because I needed and desired to be accepted and appreciated by them. And I'm not saying that that's wrong. However, I needed to give those things from myself. Appreciate myself and accept myself, and importantly, love myself. And when you have that internal peace and internal balance, you don't need to seek it out from someone else. So when I learned those things and was able to step back and allow them just be, I found that internal and inner peace. So my young adults, Christopher, Kellen, and Kelsey, they know where I am. They know when they really need me, that mommy is going to be there. But we all have our own lives to live. So, as a reminder, don't beat yourself up. What has happened in your past experiences and interactions with your children, there is no perfect parent. So if you let that go, the attempt of being perfect, and just focus on being present, See if that makes a difference in the interactions between your children as well as your young adults. And remember, no matter what has happened to you in your past doesn't define who you are, because you can always make a choice to make a change. Thank you for listening. Your Emergent Soul. Thank you for listening to this episode of Emergent Soul Conversations. Join me next time to gain more insights on how to live a life by design and not default. If this was your first time tuning into the show, please make sure and hit the subscribe button below and follow me on Instagram at Emergent Soul. Remember, what happens to you does not define you. Your Emergent